Good morning, everyone. This is Mrs. Priyadashni, yes, Assistant Professor from the Department of Child Health Nursing, KGNC, SBV deemed to be University, Puducherry. So today the session is about the communicable diseases. Okay, and this unit basically has certain disease condition, and today's disease condition which is related to tuberculosis in children, and we have a set of criteria, or we have a set of outline for this particular disease condition. We'll see it one by one. Today's class, the outline of tuberculosis is, we'll be seeing the introduction, how what is the percentage, or how it is going to affect, and what are the morbidity and mortality rate in children, and what are the risk factors, how it is causing, and what are the causes of that. We'll be seeing then pathophysiology, clinical signs and symptoms, diagnostic evaluation, which plays a very important role so that we can rule out the disease condition, and so that the proper management can be given through the management, and what are the exercises and how we are going to prevent, and what is the management, and importantly what is a nurse's role in managing the tuberculosis or tuberculosed diagnosed children. So, introduction to start up with disease condition, which is tuberculosis in children. And if you see, it is estimated about 1/3 of the world population is being affected with tuberculosis. And we already know tuberculosis, the causative organism, the main causative organism is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And if you see the incident rate, if you see about 9 million people develop tuberculosis, and in 9 million, 1.5 people die each year, it is being estimated. And as WHO, World Health Organization, is estimating 10% of global tuberculosis can load, and it is occurring in children age, which is in the age group of 0 to 14 years. And these specific age group, which is between 0 to 14 years, are being diagnosed with the tuberculosis from their childhood itself. So they are all childhood cases. Okay, and if you see, 75% occur annually in 200 high burden countries that together account 80% of the world estimated incident rate. Then children can present with tuberculosis at any age, but majority of the cases are being diagnosed between 1 to 4 years, because they are more vulnerable to respiratory tract infection, and they are more prone to get that, because due to lack of hygiene, due to lack of hygiene and poor education. So there are many cases, there are many majority frames, so that they are being more susceptible towards this 1 to 14 years. And disease usually develops within 1 year of infection, the younger and the earlier, and they are more disseminated. So, the definition of tuberculosis is a chronic infectious disease caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Children are more susceptible to both human as well as bovine. So, in case of human, it is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. If it is more bovine, it is Mycobacterium bovis. So, as we know, the main causative organism for tuberculosis is Mycobacterium tuberculosis only, and it is of both the frames. It is very vulnerable to the children. It can be in human or in the bovine stage. So we have already stated the cases, the morbidity cases in worldwide as well as in the India level. And now the tuberculosis is the 8th leading cause of death in children, which is between the, as I told you before itself, it is in the between the age group of 1 to 4 years, because they are more vulnerable to that. And it has a lower prevalence rate of only 5 to 10%. When you compare to adolescent, it is only 10 to 30%, and when you compare that with adults, it is about 30 to 50%. So you see the drastic rate between the adolescents as well as in the children's stage. So it has a only minimal level, which is about 15 to 10% or 5 to 10%. So it has only the minimal ranges. Next, we'll see about the epidemiology. So epidemiology, for it has certain things like the agent, the host factors, how it is going to affect, and how is the environment having the how it is stimulating and how it is spreading, all those. So first one will be the agent. So in agent, if you see, all cases of pulmonary tuberculosis are caused by human type of Mycobacterium, as I already told you in definition itself. And there are only few cases where we can see bovine cases, which is extrapulmonary illness, which is very few, okay, where you can see it in other areas of tuberculosis, which is just causing it. Okay, as in epidemiology, the reservoir of infection, how it is going to spread. So mostly the reservoir of this infection is, it is only through the discharges in the sense the tubercular bacilli. Okay, the tubercular bacilli, which is mostly, the main thing is through sputum or any nasopharyngeal secretions. Okay, when the person is beside, okay, by coughing or sneezing or even etc. So only through this, it is a main reservoir of infection where it gets transferred from one person to another. Mode of transmission. So the mode of transmission, as we have discussed in previous slide itself, the reservoir of infection through inhalation. When the next person, when the beside person is coughing or sneezing, so through that mode only, this infection is just being infected by the droplets from one person to another. And this, if you see, infection through injection of infected material is very rare. When a person is wearing, touching an object, so that the other person is going and touching now, in that cases it is not getting what it is not getting infected from one person to another. And this rarely infection spreads through skin, mucous membrane, or transplacentally. And the last one under epidemiology parameter will be the host factors. So host factors, first one is age. Age is nothing, that only this particular age will be prone for this, only this particular age is being acquiring for this, nothing like that. So no age is exempted from TB. So congenital TB is rare. Frequency of infection with the tuberculosis bacilli increases as the child grows in age. And certainly the sex. So adolescent children, especially girls, are more prone to get TB during the age group or during the pubertal age. And the next one will be about the malnutrition. So undernourished children are more prone to develop tuberculosis due to they have their uh, immunological parameters very very less. And intercurrent infections is sense, the tuberculosis infections, no, they may flare up after the attack of any whooping cough or any high grade fever or even measles. So in this cases, it is most prone. Under epidemiology, the next one will be the environment. So environment, in the sense, environment has a very 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 big frame where we are going to see the conditions, how this tuberculosis is going to promote or it going to decrease it. And there is only little difference in prevalence of disease in a rural area as well as in urban communities. So children living in overcrowded apartments or overcrowded locality of or houses will have inadequate ventilation, or there will be only there will be only little sunshine. So in these areas, it is morely high risk, and they are more prone to get it. And so there are also some of the living conditions like unhygienic practices, dumping the insanitary ones. So this is also some of the predisposing factors when environment is epidemiology for tuberculosis. Next is the important thing is pathophysiology. As we all have seen, the what is the risk factor, what is the causative organism, and what are the host materials, how the environment is playing, and what is the reservoir of infection. Now we'll see how this tuberculosis is invading the human being. So pathophysiologically, if you see, initially there will be infection. Okay, infection. So this infection, there will be there will be entry of microorganisms through the droplet of the nuclei. Okay, through the droplet of the nuclei, and so for and because of that, this bacteria is being transmitted through the lung area, where there will be in the lung area where the alveoli is carrying towards the airways. Okay, to, alveoli through the airways. And so since this bacteria has been transmitted, it is getting deposited, and it is also multiplied. The bacteria is getting deposited as well as it has been multiplied, and therefore this is being transported to other parts of the other parts of the areas of the lungs also. So certainly what happens is there will be what increase in neutrophils, okay, increase in neutrophils and also macrophages. So when all this is being happening, there will be too much of accumulation of exudates in the alveoli region. Okay, so what happens is the new tissue masses of live as well as the dead bacilli is being surrounded by the infected organisms, which has been the macrophages. Okay, and which forms a protective mass around the granulomas. So what happens? This granulomas then transfers to fibrous tissue mass and central portion which is being called as corn tubuli. Okay, so when this is been happening, it is being classified, and it becomes a collagenous scar also in the region of the alveoli. So what happens, this bacteria becomes very dormant. Okay, and therefore there will be no what there will be no active progression of disease also. So active progression is, then there will be sometimes there will be active frame of disease, or sometimes there will be reinfection also occurs. So because of this, already the particular person who's been diagnosed, or who's been through this stage, will be having inadequate immune response. They'll be having the lower parameters. So there will be again activation of the dormant bacteria. So now the lung will be fully infected, and it will be fully inflamed. And first of all, the development will be uh, development will be pneumonia. Okay, development of pneumonia. And slowly this tuberculosis also will be accumulated after following the development of tubula, and lastly it is occurring the stage called as tuberculosis. Okay, so this is the normal pathology from the how it is getting invading into the airways till how the lungs is being fully affected with infectious and also inflamed from. Okay, we have seen, no, in this pathophysiology itself, there are some parameters. Okay, so if the child is having low resistance, what will all will be the child will having means this. If there is low resistant, everything will be having the decrease in parameters. So child develops infection of the lymph gland. Okay, and hematogenous spread may occur, and there will also some deep blood vessels erosion will also takes place. And you can see spondylitis and also pot disease. And if the child is, even though after this also the child is having good resistance parameter, the healing of primary lesion clarification or classifications may be uh, occurring, calcification may be occurring. And later on, when the immunity is being lowered, this latent lesion may again become active. Okay, so this is a difference between when the child is having the child resistance higher as well as in lower frame. So we have seen what is happening. Now, when the child is being diagnosed with during the phase of tuberculosis phase, it actually, if you see the incubation period of tuberculosis is, it is between 4 to 12 weeks. And as I told you before itself, the the invasion is something, the invasion of tubercular bacteria is something which is very sudden. And in case of tubercular meningitis or miliary tuberculosis, it is slowly, progressively it will happen. It happens very suddenly also, but maybe sudden. Okay, so what will be the common signs and symptoms? If you see, first of all, early symptoms, if you see, the child may have fever, malaise, weight loss, cough, okay, aching pain, and also very much tightness of the chest. And mostly this type of children who's been diagnosed with tuberculosis will have night sweat very bad, and mainly you can see this in the forehead region. And the child looks very pale, peevish, dull, and fretful. And anorexia takes place, and in very rare condition, hemoptysis also takes place. So the picture which I have also shown, and also in the forthcoming slides, you can see it. And the late symptoms is respiratory rate changes slowly. Okay, it happens. It is very insidious, but it happens slower frame. Okay, next there will be poor expansion of lung on the affected sites, diminished breath sounds and crackles, dullness when you're going to percuss during physical examination, fever persists, pallor, anemia, weakness, and also weight loss. Next one we are going to see about the diagnosis of tuberculosis in children. So first and foremost is the careful history collection. So history collection consists of everything, and in this the main thing is what is the contact of tuberculosis, how did they get this, okay, and also followed by the signs and symptoms consistency with TB. Then clinical examinations, and including this, when you're doing this clinical examination, we have to assess for the growth and development assessment also. Then tuberculin skin testing, which I'll be explaining in further slides. Then bacteriological confirmation whenever possible, investigations relevant for suspected pulmonary TB and suspected extrapulmonary TB, HIV testing in high HIV prevalence areas. It is very, it is not that much confirmatory, but nowadays we are doing this also. So as I told you, history collection. So first one is history collection. We have to collect the proper history collection. So in case if it is an infected means, we have to know the what is the who's the reservoir or from whom the it has been infected. That history we have to collect it very importantly. So there may be a history of infected case in the family or neighborhood. Such history is available in less than 1/3 of patients. Mostly they won't tell up, they won't come up with your things, and they tell, and it is sometimes that's what it is being told. It is sometimes only 1/3 of available history is being brought to the doctor's knowledge. And coming second one is this about the Mantox test. Mantox test is, you know, okay, I'll a quick brush up I will just give you. 0.1 ml of suitable dilution of tuberculin PPD, okay, tuberculin protein purified derivative will be there, and that will be given intradermally in the anterior aspect of the forearm. Okay, standard dose is 5 international units. So a wheel of 5 mm should be raised. Okay, a wheel of 5 mm should be raised. Results are read after 48 to 78 hours, and I also illustrated a picture which is above so that you can have a view of it. We are talking about the Mantox test. So as I told you, the duration of 5 mm or more interpretive as positive in individuals with close to recent contact with infectious causes. In duration of more than 10 mm in positive is high risk group, like those who have high in environmental risk of exposure, associated medical disease conditions like lymphoma, malnutrition, renal failure, diabetes mellitus in children. So as we are discussing about the diagnostic evaluation, X-ray of the chest is a confirmatory one also. So if you see, you can see the primary focus and also the pulmonary lesion in the lung parenchyma. Then BCG test. Okay, the duration of more than 5 to 6 mm after 3 days of BCG vaccine is considered as positive reaction. This mostly you can check immediately after birth also. So there are also certain lab investigations like ESR. If you check the ESR, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, okay, it will be elevated during the acute phase of the disease. And acid fast bacilli, sputum, and also the laryngeal swab culture for mycobacterium growth, we have to check it. Then if you see the histopathology like glands, liver, and other tissues may be examined for the histopathological evidence of tuberculosis for FNAC, fine needle aspiration. FNAC. Okay, the next one will be rapid. There are certain rapid diagnostic modalities like ELISA. ELISA, why we are doing this to detect the microbacterium antigen, and also certain immunoglobulin tests like IgG, IgM, and IgA antibodies for the identification of the microbacterium tuberculosis. And there are also some things like to detect the bacilli, to identify and also to detect the microbacterium bacilli, sputum, CSF analysis, tissue biopsy, and also gastric aspirate also has to be diagnosed. It will be brought and it will be investigated. So management. So this is a very important thing. So in management, first we are going to see about the initial thing, the general principles or general treatment principles of management for tuberculosis in children. First and foremost is early diagnosis. Okay, early diagnosis. Then second one is prompt, adequate, vigorous, and prolonged treatment should be given. Every child who is going to acquire this treatment regime has to complete their course fully. Okay, there should not be any dropout, or there should not be any disturbances in their treatment course. So more than one antiviral drug should be used for the prevention of development of resistant in tubercular bacilli to drugs. Then nutritionally balanced diet to improve the child's health, prevention and treatment of intercurrent infections. Living conditions should be improved by better sanitation and also hygienic measures. So now we are going to discuss about some of the vast thing is the drugs, that is medical therapy. Medical therapy, the fourth and foremost which comes to our mind for tuberculosis medical management is ATT, anti-tuberculosis therapy. So this therapy mostly, if you see, it is about three categories. It is divided into three categories about first line, second line, and third line. So first line drugs, mostly majority of patients, if you see, they have success by using certain first line drugs. Majority of the patients, okay, so majority of the children are being completely treated. Okay, and if you see that it is more effective with minimum toxicity. Okay, example, rifampicin, ethambutol, streptomycin, inozide, and paranamycin. So these are the first line drugs, and this is the first choice of drugs which we give for the children who are being diagnosed with the tuberculosis, and this is the first ATTT regimen also. As a second, as I told you, this is a now we are going to see about the second line drugs. So this is also called as multi drug resistant cases. Multi drug resistant cases, why? Because is these the first line drugs cannot be used for this particular frame patients. For those we use the second line drugs like PAS, capramycin, kanamycin, cycloserine. All this we are going to use it. The next one will be the third line drugs. That is nothing but they are reserved for drug resistant cases. Okay, like rifampicin, amikacin, ampicillin, and impenem. So why I am saying it is reserved for drug resistant is, suppose a TB drug is being given. Okay, you can categorize into two. Okay, one can be bactericidal, another one is bacteriostatic. So bactericidal, if you see, you can give rifampicin, you can give streptomycin, you can give inozide. Okay, so this all we can give the choice to bactericidal one. When it is going to be bacteriostatic, in that cases we have to go for PAS, ethambutol, and thiazidazine. Okay. ATT, that is anti-tuberculosis regimen therapy. So if a patient is being newly diagnosed patients of pulmonary tuberculosis, or even there can be extra pulmonary tuberculosis, actually they are being treated with short-term therapy of chemotherapy is being regimen will be started, and this therapy is being followed under two phases. One is intensive phase and another one is continuation phase. If you see about the intensive phase, okay, so in intensive phase, if you see, the main goal of this phase, intensive phase, is to eliminate the bacterial load. Okay, whichever bacteria is being loaded, whichever bacteria is being loaded in the lung, and which is being exudated or deposited in the lung, no, they are going to minimalize. No, they are going to minimalize, and also they are going to eliminate the complete bacterial load which is in the lung parenchyma. And also the important goal is to prevent the emergence of drug resistant strains. Okay, drug resistant strains. And at least if you see, three bactericidal drugs are being used. As I told you before itself, what is bactericidal and what is bacteriostatic. Okay, like INH, okay, rifampicin, streptomycin. Okay, like this there will be combination of either of this, and this all things will be seen in the intensive phase. As I told you, the second phase will be continuation phase. So continuation phase itself, it is being bactericidal. So they are used to continue, and also they are going to complete the therapy. Okay, as the phase itself says, we are going to continue, which is being started in the intensive phase, completely continue, and you are going to complete it also. So in this, In tuberculin positive patients, this INH and rifampicin are given for 9 months in either daily or in weekly schedule. Okay. Next, anti-tuberculosis regimen if non-progressive pulmonary tuberculosis, pleural effusion and cervical adenitis. So for those things, when these problem arises, 6 month regimen is being given. Same, this INH, rifampicin and parazone. Okay, for this you are going to give 2 months. Okay, 2 months. Okay, 2 months they'll be giving, or even sometimes they'll be giving very daily for the period of 4 months. And if the progress is going to be elevated, or it is going to be in the same stage, then they will go for the next status, 9 months regimen. Okay, 9 months completely they will be giving for all these 9 months daily, they will be taking this regimen. If it is progressive pulmonary tuberculosis, skeletal, disseminated, and meningeal or miliary tuberculosis, all this, okay, rifampicin, inocidine, streptomycin, all this, no, it will be given it will be given for the period of 2 months, okay, followed by H plus R daily for 10 months, okay. Steroidal therapy also plays a very important role. So why we are giving the steroid? Because it is useful to add corticosteroids for anti-inflammatory effect during first 6 weeks of ATT. In case of tubercular meningitis, pericarditis, okay, peritonitis, okay, prednisolone 1 to 2 mg per kg per day will be given for the first duration of 6 weeks. So next is our role as nurses role, nursing management. So as I told you before itself, the assessment, it can be through physical examination, history collection, okay, then obtain the history of exposure of tuberculosis. Then we are going to assess for the symptoms of active disease, auscultate the lungs for crackles. During drug therapy, assess the liver function test investigations also. So in nursing management, the children and the adolescents with pulmonary tuberculosis should be isolated first. Okay, until there is effective chemotherapy is started. First one is isolation is mandatory. Then proper nutritious diet, high protein, okay, calcium and vitamin C diet should be given to children. Adequate rest must be provided to children. Avoidance of infection, regular immunization, effort should be made to trace the source of infection. Because I told you, in history collection, only one third of the people come as a friend is to discuss with the doctors, whereas the others won't do it. Okay, then periodic weighing and health assessment. Parents should be explained about the need of long term and regular use of drugs. They are told about the side effects of these drugs also. Okay, proper coughing and sneezing technique by covering the mouth and nose to prevent the droplet infection should be encouraged. BCG vaccination should be carried out for all the children at the birth or within 3 months of age. So administer and teach self-administration of medications order. If it is a child who is in the age group of, okay, adolescent age, we have to tell them the sequence of how they are going to take up their medications, and encourage rest and avoidance of excretion. Okay, excretion. Then monitor the breath sounds, respiratory rate, sputum protection and dyspnea. Provide supplemental oxygen as ordered and increase the fluid intake. Instruct about the best position to facilitate the drainage. Then we have to again be aware that TB is transmitted by respiratory droplets. Use of high efficiency particulate masks for high risk procedures, including endoscopy. Okay, whatever procedure you do, you can mask up, you can be protective also. Educate patient to control the spread of infection by covering the mouth and nose while coughing and sneezing. Isolation of patient is must. Instruct about the risk of drug resistance if drug regimen is not strictly and continuously followed. You have to educate the patient about the etiology of transmission and what are the effects of tuberculosis, and review the adverse effects of drug therapy. Participate in observation of medication taking. Okay, whenever you are going to administer, when you are going to give medications, you should check whether the child is being given properly, and child is swallowing swallowing the medicine also. Okay, weekly pill counts or programmed designs to increase the compliance with the treatment of tuberculosis. Explain that tuberculosis is a communicable disease and that taking medication is more effective way of preventing transmission. Instinct about medication schedule and side effects. So far we have seen all the tuberculosis, how it is coming, how what are the signs and symptoms, how it is invading, okay, what is the treatment regimen, how we are going to diagnose all this. So the very important aspect which you are going to see is prevention. So prevention is first and foremost is isolation. That is our first thought. Okay, if isolation is must and mandatory. Then ionoxide prophylaxis is for all the children having household contacts, okay, who are less than 5 years of age, should be given 5 to 10 ml per kg ionozed as prophylaxis frame. Okay, then tracing the source of infection. Okay, efforts, okay, we should make the effort to make the trace of infection or the source of infection in family and also extra familiar contacts of every child with the tuberculosis. Health education is very important one. So the community, whether it can be rural or urban, okay, the community should be educated about the mode of infection of TB, early sign and symptoms, prevention and treatment. Okay, then the living pattern, hygienic living pattern and good environmental sanitation should be propagated. Living apartment should be well ventilated. Dampness should be avoided with provision of sunlight entering the house. BCG vaccination, that should be extreme. That is a very important one, which is extremely useful in reducing the incidence of TB. Isolation, as I already told. Then covering the mouth, okay, wearing mask, and you should finish the entire course of medication. That is the important one. You should not drop out in between. Okay, there will be certain things happening in and around when you are on the treatment regimen, but the main goal is to finish the entire course of medication. And last one is complications. So complications is if it is left untreated or if it is not being noticed. Okay, so first one is hemoptysis, then pleurisy, then pleural effusion, emphysema, pneumothorax, endo, bronchitis, medullary tuberculosis, and HIV-related opportunistic infections also will be arising. So all the major complications will be more or less linked with the respiratory frame only. So because all the exudates, all the things are being affected and it's been deposited in the parenchyma. So mostly it will be something which is relatable to the lung only. So as a concluding frame, although TB is a life-threatening disease condition, with early diagnosis and proper medications, it is very curable. However, it is essential to ensure one person gets diagnosed properly without compromising on the quality of treatment.